Hello and welcome to the Cool Old Days. Today we have Mark, Penny, Dennis, Keon, and Terrence, and myself, Luis. And we're going to be talking about all the good old days. So, for those people who remember those times. All right, so we're going to start talking about, I remember when I was a kid watching, cartoons or even shows and TV. They're so different than nowadays. So maybe you can tell me a little bit about, what do you think? What's the difference? What is it that we need to change and have, I guess, what can we tell the young people nowadays that what we used to have in those days? I don't know if you would like to give us something right here, Mark. You want to talk about it?
The Warner Brother cartoons back in the 60s.
All right.
They were crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
agree
We,
with that.
we did. We had a community center down in the basement of the big theater, and it would run from like 9 o'clock in the morning until noon
Wow.
every Saturday. The black and white Warner Brothers.
That was good.
The old,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think a little bit. We all got touched by Warner Brothers, honestly.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Because they cartoons kind of went through a long time span, but like in my generation, it was always the after school hours.
Definitely.
As soon as you get off school, you don't want to do homework or anything. You want to sit there for like the next 3 hours watching all the cartoons that's coming on. So
And if you know, there was a time when they thought that those cartoons were violent. To
I mean-
compare with what we had, the meaning and kind of a little bit of a it's crazy. But nowadays we have from Red and Stimpy and all those, of course, that was before in the 90s and all that. But nowadays, I think it's the way they have created cartoons, even for adults. And some of the movies, even that we watch, they have adult humor.
Mhm.
And I think that that's what is interested about the whole thing, because not only the kids that love the movie, but also the adults because they play the music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It is a big hit all the time. And also, they do the humor that they have is trying to describe something in different words that only the adults will understand.
Definitely.
yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I have had the unavoidable pleasure of seeing modern day cartoons,
Yeah.
and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Procedure may agree, but it's completely trash. We went from
I actually agree with you wholeheartedly.
yeah, it's completely trash. We went from violent cartoons as Tom and Jerry to cartoon characters who definitely takes meth. Because the visual perspective of what they put in some of these cartoons nowadays is just it's crazy, and it takes it to a whole nother level. And not only is it more adult comedy in it, that if you're not just like literally sitting down and watching it and paying attention to it, it'll fly past you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Tom and Jerry might have been a little bit violent, but they didn't have a lot of adult humor. Maybe a little bit here and there for like the people who's actually drawing it, so they can keep themselves interested. But nowadays, you went from like having probably 2 adult comedy parts inside of the cartoon to like the whole thing, like Shrek 3. Like Shrek 3 has so many adult references
Right.
in there.
And I think that's where it started at when people got comfortable with it when Shrek started. Like I think that's where it really started.
You think
to
Shrek
change
was the
over.
beginning?
Well, the beginning where it was obvious. Because if you look back
Yeah.
at old school cartoons, there was a lot of adult innuendos in the cartoons, but it just wasn't obvious. Like you had to pay attention. Now it's just out there.
But
Yeah.
see, we used to have a really talented man who did a lot of good cartoons and voiceovers, Mr. Blank, Matt Blank,
Oh, yeah.
and he did a lot of things in voices and talk, like the you name it.
It
He
was
had a lot of
incredible.
different voices, and nowadays I think what we have is stars who talk. The donkey that we have, on Shrek, for
Mhm.
instance, you have all different types of characters, and I think that's what makes a movie. The character, the voice, all that. And instead of having one person try to make all the voices for the whole film, and that's hard. I don't know what you think, Mark,
yeah.
about that, but
Oh, yeah, Mount Bank was incredible. It was
Yeah.
incredible.
yeah, even like you said, The Incredibles. They're a pretty good movie too.
Oh, The Incredibles.
Yeah, I know
I don't know.
Oh,
We're
that's-
The
I know, but
Incredibles.
then it's
don't know. I'm too old for that.
I know. Stuff like that. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, even the music, if you notice that nowadays they play more music from the old days than new music,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and everybody identifies with that.
And I think if you look at the animated movie Trolls, like that is an example of that. Shrek 2, because they
Yeah.
came through with some of the
Yeah.
modern day hits. I guess it's just to help the generation better identify with the animation movie or cartoon, because it's something that's relatable to today and the time that we currently live in.
I don't know. I guess I'm growing up and I'm becoming one of those guys that say like, yeah, this new stuff is completely stupid. I mean, like I think it's just a transition from a generation to generation. My mom probably looked at my cartoons was like, I don't understand this. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I look at it now and I'd be like, I don't understand it. I might
But
have legitimate reasons because I'm telling you, I think some of these writers are on meth. I'm just gonna keep saying.
I'm
putting
gonna
that out
say
there.
this to you. We not too far removed from the 90s. It's almost 20, 30 years, but like the
Yeah.
impact is still memorable. I can look at a popular cartoon like SpongeBob that debuted in the late 90s, early 2000s, to like a show Breadwinners, like that's on the same network, Nickelodeon, and like
Yeah.
the intelligence level and the content is just vastly different. And don't get me wrong, like SpongeBob, he can be an idiot. Don't get me wrong, but it's done in a smart way.
Yeah.
Like that Breadwinners cartoon, and I'm assuming like you guys are familiar with it,
Nah.
but like it's terrible.
This how
No.
you know that modern day cartoons is bad. All right. So we all know we have cartoons that we grew up off that are hits. All right. They have icons and ideals, things that we go after. You know what I mean? You can go to the Disney store and you can pick up, a Mickey Mouse, or you can pick up a Goofy, or you can pick up SpongeBob. You know what I mean? It's only a few cartoons from the modern day era where I can see anything that's presented about it. And Future Time is one of them. And what else?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
Unless it's like really like childish, and for lack of a better term, from like maybe toddlers or something. Like I can name like Paw Patrol.
Yeah,
or
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
But as far as mature, like 7 and up, can't do it.
Can't, because
But-
they're not making
Yeah.
any sense.
But it's not only cartoons. You also have
Yeah.
to understand the shows that we have now. You always wonder where the parents,
Yeah.
because they're all the shows you show the kids doing adult things, like going to the movie by themselves, going to the mall by themselves, doing everything like that. And then you start wondering, okay, but where are the parents? You never heard of the parents. Always see the characters, the iCarly, whatever, all those
Charlie
people.
Brown.
Hey,
Charlie-
that was a good
Yeah,
good
yeah.
reference.
Yeah,
iCarly.
and you
Yeah.
never see to know where the parents, and
Yeah.
where is the direction, where is the family, where is the good thing when you have dinner and you all sit down together and have that. Now the only thing you see is grab whatever you can and whenever whatever time, and let's see what happens.
All
Kill
the,
the hunger.
all the channels.
Yes,
All
yes,
the
all the
back,
channels pretty
back
much.
in the day. Back in the day, what did we have?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you had the Stooges and you had the Rascals and you had
Mhm.
what, 2 or 3 channels?
Yeah,
that was
right,
it.
right, right. That was
That was
it.
it, and you saw it when you could.
I would say the
Like
biggest
today,
change
it's
I've seen-
24/7.
24/7, and
Yeah.
sometimes 24/7 of the same show. You go what?
You right, because it used to like fade out. I remember watching TV and then it'll kind of fade out, and then like the last thing that I would probably remember before I go to sleep is like Andromeda or something like that. Something like ridiculously sci-fi. But even sitcoms have drastically changed. You don't even know of a popular sitcom nowadays. Like that's really going to just make you sit down and watch it. Like if we go back to the 90s and the 20s, you got
We can
from
countless.
Friends to all the
Twin-
way to Martin Lawrence Martin.
Come on.
You know what I mean? All these different iconic sitcoms that no matter where you at in your couch on your sofa, you can relate to it in your culture.
Seinfeld. It's people who
Seinfeld.
still sit down and watch Seinfeld.
But what type of sitcoms do we got out like that anymore? I think like there's no real iconic sitcom that you're just gonna sit down and watch because of like the storyline or the
Right.
comedy or
You
whatever.
know, I like even
Sanford
though
and Son.
I'm assuming people not watching
Yeah.
as much
Jefferson.
TV these
Yes.
days.
Let's
People
move. I'm coming to get you.
people are drawn to more of reality based TV, like Housewives of Beverly Hills and like whatever it is. Like I guess the sitcom kind of took the back seat. The last strong sitcom I could think about is probably 2.5 Men
Yes,
and
definitely.
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah,
Them the
Big Bang
last
Theory
two
was good.
strong sitcoms I can think of. Off the
And
top
the thing
of my
is,
head.
like, and that's not enough drama in your own life that you have to see somebody else's drama.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one of the things that you have to kind of think about it. Like, wait a minute, why do I have to see somebody else's problems already since I already have my own?
Hey, right.
It was crazy in the 70s how many sitcoms there were.
Oh,
It
yes.
was.
It
Yes.
was. I mean, just
Yeah.
one after the other.
Even if you remember the detectives and everything, all shapes and you name it. We
Oh.
have them from Canon to, you have, you name it.
Oh, yeah. Before
Kojak.
that. Yeah, like Kojak
Jack.
and Emergency and what I'm
Yeah, Columbo.
Columbo.
You have, all
Columbo.
those guys. I know they got,
Columbo.
things that we would never imagine, that he could be a detective, but he was really good. I mean, he asked so many questions and always in everybody's noses. So I think that's actually what to get you where you want to go.
Right. Like even daytime TV has changed. I remember soap operas, just used to be popular, but recently we seen, I think it was Days of Our Lives finally had a last episode. Like, as the time is going on, maybe it's internet killing TV. Like,
Yeah.
but
I
the
think it is.
content that we have is changing, and like TV is trying to stay caught up with making it accessible on the phone. Like I have the Xfinity app on my phone, and I still watch less than like 5 hours of TV a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
And we look at our Facebook and stuff all day. So like it's like the internet is the more premium option over TV. So like, maybe that has an influence on how the content is changing because
Yeah. Yeah.
they trying to do different stuff to
And those,
will us in.
like I said, 15, 20 years, 30 years, like you were saying, we only have 3-4 channels and only till midnight. And as soon as you heard
Yeah.
the national anthem, that was it.
That
Everybody's going to
yeah.
bed.
I heard
Yeah.
about
And
them
then we'll come
days.
back in the
Yeah.
morning
Yep.
again. And when you hear again, that was your wake up call because
Oh.
some people, they went to bed on the couch.
Oh, the test screen.
Yeah.
The old test screen.
And they were
In
like
black
kind
and
of
white.
listening to the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, did I miss something? No, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Oh,
And now we're getting to on demand. I mean, on demand, you
Oh.
can see anything anytime.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
anytime.
I mean,
See, so that helped.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to like run home to get to the TV because you could catch it later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I think they should just continue with reruns because all this new stuff they're making is just
Yeah,
Don't
it's
make no
not
sense.
it's not well thought out. And, I
It's
feel
not.
like it's a reflection of the generation who's in creative control.
I
and,
think it's the
you know,
generation that grew up. So if you talk about the age range of the people who's probably making these new things, they probably in their 30s or their 40s.
Yeah.
If you go back to their age range or when they was teenager, that was the drug era. So I'm telling you, it is a meth thing. All right, because
wait. See, like we talking about the good old days. Like,
Yeah.
I love late 70s and 80s music.
Yes.
Yes.
And I associate it, which I'm not a drug user, but I associate it directly with drugs being more socially acceptable. Not saying legal, not saying right, but it was a little more socially acceptable. So I thought the music might have been better because of
Yeah.
that.
Well, the thing
we
is
would
also,
never have Pac-Man.
yeah. Well, you're right, but also you have to understand. Nowadays, you have the music from the 80s or 70s, but it's a remake, and now they're adding a beat or a sound,
Yeah.
and you kind of like it becomes popular, and people think, oh, that's a new song. It's not a new song. It's just being used by somebody else,
Reused.
adding more something else.
Gotta
You
use
need
your
to be more
research.
original than
They
that.
took that out the draw.
But anyway.
You
I
ain't
think that
talking about
that's
a
good. The
hound
all the good old days, and I'm glad that all you guys are here and everybody who's listening. Hopefully, we can make it understand. So this is gonna be it for now. I want to thank everybody for being here on our show, and I'm really looking forward to come back again and see if we can do it again. So once again, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time right here. We'll talk again about our show.